My first memory of experiences with extraterrestrials was in 1976 in Jacksonville, Florida. I was 4 years old. I was asleep in my bed, and then suddenly I was in a craft. I wasn't afraid. I was completely awake, and there were small children, other children of various ages. They looked pretty human, but their skin wasn't quite right. They had more of a flat ash kind of tint to their skin, and they had absolutely no body hair that was visible. And their eyes were a little larger, and their mouths were a little smaller. So there were just slight differences where they wouldn't quite be able to pass for human. And that's what I'm going to classify them as adult beings that were in the same room that I was in. They told me that these were my brothers and sisters, that they had been attempting to make a biotechnology that was compatible with putting this consciousness in a body and having it pass for human and integrate into human society. The children that were there were all extremely happy to see me, and they were like pinching my skin, feeling my skin and pulling at my clothes and kind of tickling me, not really meaning to, and touching my hair, and it was a beautiful experience.
Yeah, very surreal. Were they the same age, you think, or?
No, they were various ages, various heights. Some of them were, taller than, maybe they were more like middle elementary school age, just a little taller than the other children. And at home, what was happening was there was a large craft that was over my house, and everybody in the neighborhood was outside. Most of them had congregated in our driveway. My mother and the other people who were living in the home were all outside looking up into this craft for goodness knows how long. We're not really sure. Not really sure how it ended, how the experience ended, which is interesting. But I do remember once I was put back into the house, I was just back in my room. So I ran down the hallway and I jumped on the back of the couch and I looked outside, and I was looking over the bushes right outside the window, and there was everybody in the neighborhood standing in my driveway, including my mom, and they're all looking up and they're all bathed in these lights that I can't see it at that point, but it was like turning, and so it was changing the lights that were coming down.
And that incident made it to the records, right?
It did. Well, let me rephrase that. What made it to the record was that someone reported to New Fork that they had seen in 1976 a craft matching the exact same description in an area of town that I lived in the time of year that this happened, which was summer.
So the first time you told me that story, I instantly thought, oh my God, she went to the Gray School for Gifted Kids. So when the Grays came to that conclusion that the first attempts to make contact with governments and people on this planet was not as successful as they thought it should be, they started their own, hybrid program in order to make a comfortable contact with people on this planet. And what they also did is installing a kind of school where all these hybrid babies actually get educated. They also get chipped, which sounds awful, but it's actually an implant that helps monitoring the health status and blood rates, nutritional level, and also where they are on the planet. They get educated on different scientific, spiritual, and social topics as well. What we know is that these hybrid babies get, this is not a one-time only experience, but it happens many times and it goes over probably in most cases over some years even in order to educate those children.
Well, I do have another time that I have missing time as a child, 11 years old, sitting at the table very early in the morning, about to have breakfast. And I look out my window. It's still dark outside, and there is an owl that's sitting on the branch of the tree that was growing right outside of our house. And there was something about this owl that was so captivating, I couldn't stop staring at it. Eventually, that owl's face slowly changed into what we would now consider a traditional gray.
Right.
And then after that, the next thing I knew, it was a couple of hours later, and I'm sitting at the table. It's daylight, my cereal's uneaten, and I've missed the bus.
But it also indicates that you might be closer related to the grays than mostly other people.